Welcome to this tutorial on how to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to create a BMI calculator. In this tutorial, you learn how to create a simple yet powerful web application that allows you or your website visitors to calculate their body mass index based on their height and weight. As you can see in the results here, we are going to use Chat GPT to create this BMI calculator. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have a fully functional BMI calculator that you can use on your website or any other web application. So if you're ready, let's begin. We begin by typing on Chat GPT. We simply type, let's create a BMI calculator using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML code is generated. I have an open notepad here that I'll use to add the code we generate from ChatGPT. I would like to begin by adding this code to this notepad so that we can review it and see what's happening. I add the code and save. It begins with a form where we input the weight and the height. Then we have a click event here that is attached to this function, calculate BMI. So we need to have a function in our JavaScript that will be named calculate BMI. Then we style and we are done. We are touching this script down here, but we can as well run the script inside this document. So back to ChatGPT, we look at the other scripts. We have the CSS code here. We first run on the browser to see what's happening. So the form is functional and we have the height. We begin by adding the style. We add the style tag. We copy this style, then refresh. So we have the BMI calculator here and the styles are applied. So we now need to add the JavaScript. A quick way to add a JavaScript is you head back to ChatGPT and just add something like combine all this code in a single. So ChatGPT will create the code. Then you can copy the code to your document as one file. You're now creating the calculate BMI function. We are testing to see here if the BMI is above 18.5, which is the lower range, and up to the top range. So you simply copy this and I bring up this text file and add the code there. Then refresh. It's time to now test. So suppose our weight is 75 kg and the height is 180. So you calculate the BMI and it gives you your BMI is 23.1, which is healthy. We can style this further. Back to ChatGPT. So we'd like to update the styles using Flexbox. So we simply need to copy this style. That's what we need to copy. Replace this with the new ensure the tags are open and closed. We save, we refresh, and we have our BMI calculator here. We can move this to the top by simply removing it from the flexbox. We can move this to the top. The flexbox is applied to the body, or we can change this to grid layout. If we change this to grid layout, then it's going to change. So back to this code. Instead of applying flex, we change this to grid. Then we align the title. We create a H1 style here to align the title to the center and refresh. So we can add a background back to Chat GPT. We pick where we'd like to add the background, this body. Then we have a background image, so we would say something like add, we have the JPEG image that's located, add a background image to the body code below. The image is named bmi.jpg. Then we add the code here. Then ChatGPT adds that code. So we have the code here. We copy this code to update and then save. Back to the browser, and we added the image to the folder named images. That's how we create BMI calculator using ChatGPT. Of course, this is a very simple concept. We can advance this if we have more time to build a more complex BMI calculator. But for now, let's begin testing it. So suppose someone weighs 67 kgs and they are 170. That's okay. Let's change this to 180. That's okay. Let's change this to 140. That BMI is not okay. Suppose we put a negative here. Of course, no one is negative 140. So it's going to give us the message here that we need to put a valid value. So back to the code. I'd like us to go through the code on what's happening in the JavaScript code. We have a function here named calculate BMI. It begins by setting the weight, the height, then the formula to calculate the BMI, which is weight divided by height, multiplied by height. Then the result is where we are going to display. So we set this variable as where we are going to display the result, this div here, and the other div where we are going to show the error. Then we begin by testing the weight. If you're using ChatGPT and you don't understand anything, you can go back to ChatGPT and copy a function like this is none, bring up ChatGPT, then you just type something like what does that function, how does that function work? So ChatGPT gives you a very detailed documentation on what a particular function does. Like in this case, it's telling us that this function tests if a certain value is a number. That's why we are testing if whatever has been input here is a number. So after we test, we now come to this other part where we are now setting BMI should not be less than 18.5 as the lower range. Then we loop through with using if-else statement, and for every condition we give a message. If, for example, if this result is the first case, it's between the 18.5 to it's less than 18.5. If BMI is less than 18.5, the message is you are underweight. If BMI is more than 25, you are healthy. If the BMI is more than 30, we say you are overweight. If else, we say you are obese. So that's how that app works. So this is another example to show you how you can quickly use ChatGPT for your day-to-day work. I hope you find this useful and consider giving it a thumbs up and like this video. Thank you.